the great Bobby Belt.
You ruined the morning show.
Don't make me take off my belt.
Don't make me take off my belt.
We're not. Over to you, Bobby.
Let's answer all the Cowboys questions. I promise to answer every question during this segment that the fellas have for me here as we talk about the Cowboys roster. We continue to do Cowboys inventory.
Bobby was just complaining in the commercial break about like Sandler being difficult. Like, all right, Jared, what do you think about this Rangers question? He's like, well, it depends. What's this? What's that? What are the circumstances? And I was like, welcome to my world. That's how Bobby is. Effing up every hypothetical, making radio more difficult. So don't complain about Jared. I got you, Sam, man.
No, I love Jared. And Jared gave me a ton of great insight yesterday and a ton of different perspectives. It's just like I kept trying to...
I even had a sponsor 2 hours ago text me and say, just tell him to answer the freaking question. Tell him to be so...
I know which segment it was.
Put him on with Amy Lawrence.
I know which segment it was. It was the one where I had said, you were asking us about the rotations. And I just need to know, are we assuming they're as good as they are, or do we have to wonder? That was it. I just needed to know that because that was going to impact whether they have the best or not. I just need to know what the terms were. That was all. And Jared was great. He just couldn't tell me who he like. I was like, who do you think teams would value more between Adolis and Lowe? He's like, it depends. I'm like, all right, well, what if
you mean
these
Adolis?
And I was like, what if these factors are in place? And Jared was like, it would still depend. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I was just trying to tell me who you would like if you were running a team. All right, linebacker last year. Has there been a position over the last couple of years that we feel like has been thinner or just more void of NFL talent on this team than linebacker?
You can get away with a lot of things as a GM or executive, and it's like, okay, they have to say this. All right, if you stretch it, maybe I could see. When Jerry Jones came on here last year and kept talking about how linebacker is like the strongest part of their team or their defense, I cringed for him. Because I'm like, you lose all credibility. Like, I can't even take the other things that you're saying seriously when you talk like that.
Yeah, and it was were there talented players in the group last year? Yeah, but Leighton Vander Esch could never stay healthy. Damone Clark is talented, but has not really progressed at all. I wonder, are they going to start getting scared away from LSU linebackers? If Damone Clark doesn't pan out, Jabril Cox didn't pan out, are they just going to start saying, we're not going into that well anymore?
Jabril Kentucky?
No, Jabril Cox was North Dakota State at first, and then he transferred to LSU for the last year of his career.
All right, give me the secondary busts from college who have the label. So the Cowboys should just have an all-Michigan D-line, an all-LSU linebacker core, and who would that go for the secondary corners?
Well, I mean, if you're just going to peg it to one person, it would be Morris Claiborne, so it might be LSU again. But, I mean, LSU has turned out really good DBs over time.
They have.
877-881-1053. Brought us, if you are listening, or Woolchuck, the D-bust you would be who?
Yeah, throw us that one, because that one doesn't stand out to me right off the top of my head that they've had trouble with.
Because it was what? OU for quarterbacks? Penn State for running backs?
Yes.
See, the OU quarterbacks would have been Bradford, Baker, Kyler, Hurts. I don't know.
That's like the last couple years. I said what it was.
Back
Penn
towards
State
like Heupel and like Jason White and guys like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think who the Cowboys have had, because they've had individual busts at the DB spot, but it hasn't been necessarily
I'm just talking about throughout the league. Like, what college would know? Anyway, we're wasting
time. It's a good one. Yeah, okay. All right, well, we'll have to think about it. Linebacker position, it has been...
Boise State corners from burner account. Boise State. Boise State got thrown on there on YouTube.
There's the linebacker position. I think they entered this offseason with it being the one with the most question marks. I think there's a case now that it's one of the more stable units on defense. Now, before we go into specifics of why I think that and the group that they have here, which, by the way, on the Cowboys team website, RJ Choppy includes Micah Parsons listed as a linebacker here. Which would you rather have at the linebacker spot if you're team building?
Oh, my God, a Bobby hypothetical. All right, let me be Bobby here.
Okay.
Well, it depends.
Well, you know what? And I'm going to lay it all out for you.
Are they healthy, or are they taking into account their injury history?
I will lay it all out there for you.
Lay it all out.
Would you rather have, all things generally equal, would you rather have freaky athleticism, shown no instincts, which is Damone Clark, or would you rather have minimal athleticism or limited athleticism, but shows instincts and ability to see it and get there and compensate potentially for some of that athleticism, which is maybe where Eric Kendricks is at in his career.
B for me. If you're freakish and out of place, overrunning, not knowing where you're going, okay, what's the use unless I'm going to have you in the double A gap blitzing?
Do you think instincts, from what you've seen over the course of watching the NFL, all the way back to your
I do watch more football.
You do all the way back to your Russell Street Report days when you were covering the whole NFL. Have you ever seen a player that you thought lacked instincts or didn't seem instinctual early on that was able to like grow in that area? Because I think instincts is one of those things where teams feel like that either you have or you don't. Yeah. You can't learn it.
Like I always waited for it with LeVar Arrington. Like, LeVar Arrington was supposed to be the next Lawrence Taylor, and you saw all the Penn State freakish highlights, and I never felt like it clicked there. I didn't feel like it came on. I don't have an example for you of where the instincts did click, but that's the first thing that came to mind covering LeVar Arrington, and I'm like, it just feels like a big bodybuilder out there. That's it.
Chop, instincts or athleticism?
So I gotta pull a Bobby here.
Okay.
No Chop's picking athleticism.
I know.
Well, how minimal athleticism are we talking?
Eric Kendricks.
Somebody that has played here that I would seen 60 plays a game.
If Jalen Smith would have had better instincts.
How about someone with two legs?
Yeah. I mean,
anyway,
look,
you're bobbing it.
I think you can be taught how to play football. Now, you may not be able to learn instincts, all right? But I think you can be smart enough within the game and understand what's going on. I would take the athleticism.
Which is, I figured you would go that
because
direction.
you can't teach that.
That's the question that the Cowboys are going to have in front of them right here in terms of if Damone Clark even makes the roster.
By the way, real quick, Schefter says Dak's going to be the one that resets the market, going to get a deal north of 60. It might be more, way more. That from Adam Schefter with a quote I just saw on TV.
Way more than 60
way more than
60?
Is it 65? They're not going to go 10 million over market.
This fan text you're going to see like smoke emanating from the computer here in just a second. Yeah. The way the fan text is about to set on fire.
He is going to reset the market. Yeah, he's going to have the number one contract, but I don't know. Way more than 60. So the Cowboys are going to outbid themselves by $10 million.
Look, they are, as we've talked about,
they might have to do whatever he says.
If they want him, they do. Like, I mean, that's just the case. Whatever he agrees to, they have no leverage. And people can say, they have leverage, they can walk away. Yeah, sure. That's not leverage, though. That's legitimately, you don't win a negotiation. You left the negotiation. If you want to negotiate with him and have him here, there is nothing he has to concede on with you. Like, in terms of who's in the worst position. He will go find that money somewhere else if you don't give it to him.
Yep.
You have to go find another quarterback.
You can leave the house. You can run away from home, but you're standing outside at midnight with no place to go.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you going to go?
And that's not leverage. It's just, okay, like you start over. All right, congratulations, which some people may want. But, man, for Schefter to say definitely over 60, maybe way more, I mean, what are we talking, 62 to 65? Woo! Oh,
boy.
That one, that would be very interesting. Okay, Damone Clark, though, a guy that they believed a lot in. You see the athleticism pop on tape at times. There was a play his rookie year where he ran down Justin Fields to the sideline. There's not hardly any linebackers that can cross the field and do that. And Damone Clark can. And Damone Clark, they love him as a leader and as a guy who, is a total pro. The issue with Damone Clark is there's no feel for the game. He doesn't see it in advance. Whereas guys like Eric Kendricks, who you added this offseason, has lost some of that athleticism, but he knows the game of football. He has a feel for it. He sees things happening almost a step ahead. He's able to compensate for some of that athleticism issue. He's going to be a big part of this defense this year. Maris Leafau, who they picked in the third round. A lot of people thought out of all their picks in the first 3 rounds, that was the one that people were like, oh, I didn't even know who that was. That was a reach. That's a guy that when he has been out there at the mini camp and OTA practices has looked really impressive. And again, a guy who has fantastic instincts. Somebody who, during his high school and college career, has played safety, corner, linebacker, edge rusher. He's played essentially every spot on defense during his high school and college career. So it's made him into a really well-rounded, high IQ, naturally instinctual player. And I think you saw some of that during training camp. The guy they are most excited about, and hopefully we get a chance to sit down with him at training camp, is DeMarvion Overshown. And Overshown, he was great last year. Fantastic to talk to. He was a little bit on the thinner side. So linebacker was kind of a new position for him at the end of his career in Texas. He had been a defensive back and played some different spots, but he was kind of a thinner linebacker. Man, his rehab, he looks like the most legitimate linebacker in the room. He looks probably, when we see him, you're going to probably see 15, 20 pounds heavier. Oh, and I mean, jacked. Not heavy, just built. Like, he has attacked the rehab. In fact, the rehab group recovering from surgeries this entire, starting last year all the way through the offseason, was David Durden, the wide receiver, John Stevens, the tight end, and DeMarvion Overshown. They've all been rehabbing together because they got hurt around the same 2-week window. DeMarvion Overshown has apparently, just when you talk to people around the organization, has set a complete tone, and that leadership that we saw there out at Oxnard when we were talking to him, and like how you could tell he's just this magnetic personality. It's easy for guys to get down, check out, have trouble with their rehab. Overshown, by all accounts, told those guys, like, hey, you have your position groups. I know you're a receiver, you're a tight end. This is our position group. We're the rehab group. This is our group. We're going to hang out. We're going to attack this every day. We're going to have good attitudes. We're going to talk. And he has led that rehab group and kept those guys' spirits up.
The Derek Lively.
Yeah, consistently for a year now. And you're talking about a guy who, when they saw him, it wasn't that he's Micah Parsons level, but it was that same reaction from people around the team when they saw him in these practices and these preseason games last year, where it was like, oh, he's better than we thought. Like, he's really, really good. This one's going to be good. And then he got hurt and it devastated it. But he's somebody who has a chance, I think, to be impactful immediately. And this linebacker group in general, more stable, better IQ, better processing, better instincts. And like I said, the Derek Lively of the Cowboys could be DeMarvion Overshown.